Hello again everyone, my name is Sukma and I want to talk to you about the survey on evoked mood detection using dimensional approach. So this is my outline of the presentation. The first one is introduction, the second one is the dimensional approach itself. So I want to talk about the techniques using the dimensional approach. The third one is application, the third one knowledge gap, and then question and answer session. Yeah. So why we need the affective computing? So because per minute there are hundreds of hours of video uploaded to YouTube, and then also per day we have 1 billion of views. Yeah. So this means that we have a huge amount of data each minute created, and also we have a human interaction with it. So maybe we can do something interaction between the data and the human itself. So we can use the affective computing. The affective computing is a research field that play with data. So play with human effects. So why human effects? Because human effects based on the neurological survey are important for human creativity and more importantly for decision making. So maybe we can use a movie recommendation system based on the human effects itself. So what is human effects? So human effects basically is what we feel, or maybe our state of mind, and then it's emotion and mood. So why? So in the psychological literature, they differentiate between emotion and moods, but in the engineering perspective, sometimes they use a synonym between emotion and moods. And in some literature, I find that author refer to the same thing but use different terms. Like they use emotion instead of moods. So we have to differentiate between emotion and mood. So emotion is a punctual effect or instantaneous, and moods are the effect for the whole episode. So in the term of dimensional approach is the tuples of valence and arousal values. So what is dimensional approach? So the dimensional approach uses 2 dimensions of valence and arousal to inform mood. So yeah, to inform mood. So why this is good to get the evoked mood? Because the valence and arousal itself is a response to the stimulus. So we can get a picture of the evoked mood itself from these 2 values, and the dimensional approach have advantage of the simplicity and the ambiguity, and we get to this later in the next section. And the second one is dimensional approach. So this is the 2D affect space of the dimensional approach, and they use the arousal and valence value to infer the moods, and this is better than the direct approach to infer the maybe glad mood, because we have bias between the researcher about what we define about glad, or maybe what we define about happy. But in the dimensional approach, we have to infer the arousal and valence, and we have the baseline for it. Yeah, this is the early work of using dimensional approach from Alan. So they try to define algorithm model for valence and arousal using the low level audiovisual features. For the arousal, they use the 3 features: motion activity, cut density, and sound energy. And for valence, they use the average piece from movie soundtrack. So this is at the time this is quite groundbreaking, and people try to enhance the model to create a better techniques to invoke mood. And one of them is to enhance the valence model using the color component. So why color component? Because in the previous research, color component can be used to get a better mood classification, but not using the dimensional approach. So Koch want to try incorporating the color component, using the hue saturation value to get the better valence model. Unfortunately, the result itself, it claimed that works good and maybe can comparable to the previous work, but it only works on some situation, like when the movie itself have the color manipulation, or they have the color planes, such as in animation. So there is a limitation on this work. And the next work is like they want to improve the effect subspace. So yeah, it's okay. So they use user input to create a subspace of the effect of the person. So they use 1037 videos, and they ask audience to annotate the video using valence and arousal value, and they use the fuzzy seaming clustering to get the subspace, and also they want to show that the 2D effect space can show the intensity and personalization using the Gaussian mixture model. The result can be seen in the yeah, this one is the result. So it is the 2D effect space from the one of the audience. So they learn the subspace using the 1037 videos, and then they create this subspace like this, 6 subspace, and they also use the Gaussian mixture to show the intensity. So this intensity is higher than this one, and they also try to compare the previous work from Alan of the 2D effect curve to the subspace. So the effect curve of the movie Saving Private Ryan, for this person, have the mood of sad, while maybe for the other person maybe it's different. But this method needs user input, so it might suffer a cold start problem. And also this method only use the 2D effect curve from the Alan's work, so maybe it needs some enhancement to the model itself for the subspace mechanism. And last method is the user regression to infer the mood value. So this is kind of different between the other methods because they create mid-level features, they said, from the low-level other features using crowdsourcing. So there are several low-level features, and they try to learn the mid-level features or the concept, and they ask the people how these mid-level features on each movies, and then they use this mid-level feature to predict the value of valence and arousal using the rich regression. And the ground truth for the valence arousal itself is used via crowdsourcing itself. So they ask another people to annotate the video, and then they make the crowdsourcing result is the ground truth. And this is somehow doubtful because only 6 people that annotate the ground truth, and they maybe not differ in terms of population, and maybe they came from the same group. Yeah. And the application of the Evoked mood itself. So the first one is movie recommendation system. So we can learn the movie's moods and then the user mood profile by using the previous method of inferring Evoked mood. Then we can compare the matching between the movie profile and the user moods. And then we also can use this technique to index the movie, and also to use the user to browse through the movie using the 2D effect space. And also the third one, maybe it's kind of interesting, but we need a good evaluation method. So maybe after people watch movie, they get the Evoked mood itself. So maybe we can try to inject the advertisement to the people. And then the last one is knowledge gap. So the first one is use of common multimedia database. So maybe it seems minor, but all of this literature don't use the same data set. The first early work is using the movie Saving Private Ryan, and then the later work try to use it as well. And they also add movies like they think it's suitable to infer the mood, but maybe it's different between people. So it may be better to use the common multimedia database and then for the research. And then the second one, the evaluation method itself, is somehow it's not there yet because the literature itself only use the author intuitiveness to check whether this Evoked mood is good or not. And then yeah, it's not quantitative, and maybe if we use the common multimedia database, we can get the enhanced evaluation method. And the third one and the last one is integration between techniques. So all of the works before is just like no integration at all because they use different techniques and didn't see what other things about their techniques before. So maybe in the future it may be needed to integrate between techniques, like use the valence model of the average piece and then also color component. Maybe it can create better model, and maybe it can create worse model, but we have to try it. And yeah, that's it. So it's question and answer session.